What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Moving with Life. Thanks for joining. This is episode 129. I did miss last Thursday. It was on purpose, but not intention. It wasn't on purpose, I guess. There was no intent to not do a podcast on Thursday. But once I got done with the recording for Monday, because I think I had mentioned, I thought about not doing a day, and Monday might have been the day, but then I found a video. It had to do with Warren Buffett, and so I talked about business. I talked about business school and different things that pertain to Warren Buffett. You can watch the video if you want. It's episode 128. But then I got done with that, and then I went on about my day. Been working out. Thursday for whatever, or I guess Wednesday and Thursday leading up to Thursday, and I found some stuff that I wanted to talk about, but then by the time I got to Thursday, especially because again my work schedule changed, so my days and nights are flipped, right? So it's just trying to figure out that boundary where I can record when I'm 100% here and focused versus being tired, or I was still adjusting, but nonetheless, here we are now. And even now I know I'm technically late, even to my to the way I want to be to the, not expectations, not the exact word or the exact best word, but I've been trying to do Mondays and Thursdays at the very least, posting podcasts for Mondays and Thursdays, and I technically missed this one, but I'm recording, and we're gonna jump into a video here. It's a Carl Sagan excerpt, and it made me think of just bigger things, and I'll go into why. And some of it's just matter of fact of some of the things that Carl Sagan, just some of the things he said, and it has to do with Earth, and Earth Day just passed, so I want to jump into that, and then we'll talk about it.
From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different. Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. there is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
And again, it's very, I'll say, existential as far as what Carl Sagan talked about. And it was interesting. I forgot how I even found that video. I think some of it had to do with the fact of Earth Day was some of it, because I saw people posting about Earth Day and this and that about it. It's like, okay, cool, that's good. But for me, sometimes that's what I think about. It's like, but we're here, and sometimes we have good days, sometimes we have bad days, and I don't want to get too philosophical. I really don't want to get too philosophical or even stoic or anything. It's just kind of it's one of those matter of facts where it's like we're here. And then so I saw in watching this video, I think I found this video after I saw this movie called Voyagers. Not Stephen Carell. Colin Farrell is who the heck's that? Anyways, Colin Farrell was one of the actors that was in the movie Voyagers, and I to be frank, I was so excited just to go to a movie. Really, I hadn't been to a movie in over a year, and I wasn't even here when last time I went to the movie. And then obviously COVID hit, and then Thursday night, I was like, man, I've already had the itching. Every time I looked up movies though, there was nothing that ever like interested me. Never really interested me. So then get to Thursday night, and I'm awake. I had some lunch, and then I'm like, man, let's see what's in theaters now. And I saw this trailer for this movie called Voyagers, and I was like, that looks interesting. And I was hoping it wasn't. I was hoping there was no actual alien involved. The trailer is really good. It's like, okay, there's a lot of like things going on. So there's some action to it. I said, okay, we'll take a dive and we'll go watch it. Ended up being a great movie. I'm not gonna give anything away. I'd say if it's your cup of tea, you'll go watch it anyways. You'll watch the trailer and go watch it. It's really good. It's I'll put the link to the trailer here in the show notes for this podcast, for this episode. But yeah, watching that, it's like, man, and there's a lot of things about human. And I actually did a blog post about it, and the main thing I talked about was, I'm pulling it up right now. But the main thing that it showed, was that it showed humans interaction, and there were things there were things that were being done so that these humans on this ship could be contained, mentally, to go through with the mission. So there's something bigger than them, but then the story plays out, and it's a good movie. I recommend it. I give it a solid 7. I think I gave it an 8. I give it a solid 7.5 because I had an 8 pretty much all the way through, and then I forgot why. I know why. I'm not gonna say why, but so I gave it a 7. But I was like, well, I'll break it down the middle because it's a really good movie. I liked it. So then I watched the movie Voyagers. Then that night I had been keeping up with SpaceX and NASA because I know I've been keeping. I'm more keep up with Elon Musk and whatever's going on with Tesla and SpaceX and whatnot. It's become kind of it's become a part of my Twitter feed. As far as like, I'm trying to see what they're doing. I'm more interested in what they're doing than what like anything else economical or even financial for that matter. It's like, what's SpaceX doing? What's NASA doing? What's Tesla doing? What's Elon Musk up to now? That's kind of the way I've been approaching it as far as going through my Twitter feed. And then I wrote this little piece. I'll just read a little piece from my blog. It says the movie Voyagers just came out at some point, and I went to an actual theater to watch it. Side note, I hadn't been to an actual theater in over a year. Anyway, there were many themes throughout that were something to think about: overindulgence, gluttony, and beyond. But then realizing that self-discipline is necessary along with the freedoms that exist. Curiosity is good, discipline is good. SpaceX, NASA, and the believers in their mission make me very optimistic about what could be, what will be. That's the last little chunk of the blog post I made for that day, because I watched Voyagers. SpaceX is about SpaceX and NASA is about to send up Crew 2 to the International Space Station, and so I had all this science, and it's like, oh, it just fascinates me. I forgot who I told. No, I didn't even tell anybody. I wrote it on here. So I'll just read the first part. So SpaceX and NASA are sending up Crew 2 to the ISS in about an hour and 20 minutes. It can't help but make me feel curious about what space is really all about. The whole thing, science and engineering, in relation to space exploration, is out of my domain, but it is pretty awesome to observe others plan, build, and execute. I think that's part of the biggest thing that I like seeing, is like just the way these I'll put it out there and say these masterminds, the way they are able to just plan, build, and execute. Elon Musk is pretty much the pioneer of our day at the moment, and it's pretty awesome. So SpaceX is happening, NASA's happening. I watched the movie Voyagers, and then as I'm waiting for the ship to launch from Florida, I come across this Carl Sagan excerpt, and it's like, man, it just felt so real. It felt so real. This moat, and he talked about the emperors and generals that killed all the and then all the bloodshed that has been made. And it still exists. It still happens now, where it's like everybody's trying to be on top, but yet we live in this very, very finite just dot of time. Carl Sagan. So let me just a little background on Carl Sagan. Carl Edward Sagan was an American astronomer, planetary scientist, cosmologist, astrophysicist, astrobiologist, author, and science communicator. He was born in 1934. He passed away in 1996 at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. So I'm assuming he had cancer and he passed away, because 1934. I still meet patients now that are born in 1934 that are still alive. So I'm gonna assume he passed away. And so that's what he was known for. And I don't know much more than what the internet has told me on all these little excerpts, like the one shown today or heard today. That's the premise of all that I know. It's just because I like listening to things, because then it does make me wonder, and it makes me curious about everything, and then it strikes up my mind to think about what's beyond, and not beyond, like not existential, and not to get too existential, philosophical, not to go to any extreme, but just the matter of fact of like, okay, how can I dial in to then execute whatever it is that I want to do? How can I dial in? What can I do? How can I do it? What do I feel comes naturally to me? What do I have to actually work on? What have I been taught that then I now feel very comfortable to then execute as best, the best of my ability. So it's a lot more questions than answers. I frankly wanted to share that video, because again, it was Earth Day, and like the shuttle was supposed to take up on Earth Day, but then because of weather, it changed it, and then so it happened. The timing was right for me. I was also listening. I'm on my rides to and from work. I've been listening to Brian Greene talk with Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan, I guess, a couple weeks ago, and I'm still listening to it. But he's also I want to say quantum physicist. I'll look it up. Brian. But anyways, he goes in. Oh, he's theoretical physicist. American theoretical physicist, mathematician, string theorist. Greene was physics professor at Cornell University from 1990 to 1995 and has been a professor at Columbia University since 1996. Chairman of the World Science Festivals since co-founding it in 2008. There's a lot of cool things, and they go into quantum computing and all these other things. And again, everything's beyond my current domain. I love, I really love business. I love the way business ties into life. But then there's also a lot of this that ties into life, science and the way things work and why they work, going down to like, molecules and atoms. And I'm kind of ranting right now, but that just, for me, that's just, it triggers my brain. And so I pay attention to it. And so when I pay attention to it, if I feel I'm able to, I'll bring it to the podcast, and that's what I'm doing right now. And that's these are things that, again, going back to like, okay, like what am I good at? What am I bad at but want to be good at? What have I been taught over time that I'm decent at but I want to get better at? And all these trees of questions. And Brian Greene mentioned on the podcast with Joe Rogan, he was saying, sometimes, okay, this is the way I understood it. These aren't his words verbatim, but the way things are connected, I'm assuming it ties into the string theory. I don't know too much about string theory, but it's the way so one of the things he says, like, so many things are tied together because of quantum physics. And basically if how did he say it? If there are things that are possible because of quantum physics, and there's so many possible outcomes to those event. So an event A happens. Well, whatever effects come from it, there's so many, and there's really an infinite amount of effects, because as long as they are within the realm of quantum physics, then they're able, they're able to be possible. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it, make some notes, and then maybe give a little more accurate brief on it, because I don't like misquoting. I don't like doing things wrong as far as like information. I really try not to, but again, I'm in the middle of it, so I have to re-listen to it, make notes, and then come back and talk about it more. But it's just, for me, it's the premise of everything's connected. Everything's connected, and we're gonna go into another video late after this episode, for Thursdays or for later this week's episode. I'm going to have a Robert Kiyosaki excerpt, and he talks about money, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I want to listen to it and then talk about it more. But the premise is, just the little point that I want to use is that I guess he was in school. I don't know what school. We'll go over it. But he asked his professor if he was going to use that particular equation or whatever it was. And the professor said no. And so my argument, and it's very small, it's very minute, I'll say, is that you may not know it, but it teaches your brain how to think. What I learned when I took business calculus was I learned how to think outside the box. And sometimes the box is, so small. So like, think outside the box, you don't have to go too far to think outside the box. But when you're doing derivatives and inverse whatever, I can't even think of all the correct terminology. But the point is, in doing math equations like that and learning how to figure them out, and if you can't figure out one way, then you're probably wrong, so you're actually using the wrong equation. All those things, to me, goes back to problem solving. So if you know so in doing those things, and especially now when I talk to people that are in college, and this is all ages and stages that are in college, it's like, oh, I'm never going to use this. Like, maybe not. Maybe you'll never use that exact equation, but your brain is being used so that when you do come across a problem in your field, whatever you end up going into, whether it's nursing, nursing, pharmacology, then we can go to health, health and science in general. So dietitian, anything like that. So then music and art and everything else. It's like you learn how to break those little barriers that are in your head. So then you learn how to break them apart so that you can figure out the actual answer, or you can figure out a solution to the problem that you have. Again, I'm very aware that I'm ranting right now, but again, in just the way things have tied up, and then listen to Brian Greene talk about how everything's connected. It's like, yeah, to me, everything's connected, because somehow on Thursday, I didn't feel like recording a podcast, but then I found a movie that I liked. I saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, cool, space. And then SpaceX and NASA were sending up Crew 2 to the ISS, so that's some more space. Then Carl Sagan talks about, or I found this Carl Sagan excerpt video dealing with space and Earth and how minute, and how we should take care of it and cherish what we have here. It's like you want to, I'll say for those of us, and I'm not including myself in this us, but for those of us that want to explore and go beyond, i.e. Elon Musk and a bunch of other people. Cool, do that. And then at the same time, we're here, so we can cherish what we have here as well. I think that's really important. I think it's really cool. And if you think about Elon Musk, is actually, I mean, I've been talking about Elon Musk a lot, but that's just for me, that's just how much I've been following along with him, as he's been going. 2 weeks, maybe not 2 weeks, 2 months, probably a month or two that I've been following along. Sorry, got a quick interruption there, but I'm back. And so I was going on a tangent about Elon Musk, but the point is, what I was going to say is, like, he's doing the space work. He's with SpaceX, he's doing the space exploration. So he's trying. He's, as far as engineering, the way his brain works, he's doing that right. But then when it comes to Earth and preserving and thinking about where we do live at the moment, you have Tesla. It's like it's like he's double dipping into everything I'm talking about right now, as far as thinking about space, thinking about how vast and huge space is. But then you can also, as extreme as that is, you can also go to the extreme of how finite time is and how finite time we have here. And so then you find that balance, and you find what you whatever it is that does matter for you enough to want to have an impact. And maybe it's not right away. Everything takes work. And I'm trying to stay away from the philosophical like ideas and work hard and you get what you want. Yes, all that's true. But I'm trying to phrase it in a different way that will actually get us to go out and do whatever it is that we want to do, and to realize that it's okay to run into these hiccups and run into these barriers, that then we figure out ways to get out of those barriers. Yeah, I think that's all I got. It wasn't much, but I got interrupted briefly, and so I just want to wrap up with the fact of space, but then you have Earth, and we should do our best to, I guess, the whole point of this episode was to bring in the relevancy of Earth Day just happening, then with SpaceX and NASA going to space, everything that's happening here, the turmoil, but then the good. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's like, we have it pretty good here. We I don't know if we actually realize it, because sometimes we do get caught up, and there's nothing wrong, because when we get caught up in our own lives and whatever issues we're going through, that means we're human. That means we have things to solve. We have problems to solve. We have fires to put out. I love the fire analogy of you are the firefighter to your life, in the sense of if you treat everything as a fire, then you go to the next one and you put it out, and then you're done. And then when the next fire comes up, then you put that one out too, and then you move on, and you find solutions, and you figure out the problems, and then you teach others, help others. So yeah, that's what I got for now. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I really do. If you'd like to support the podcasts, I have these and some stickers and just a couple other merch ideas that I've had so far online. Everything will be in the show notes. I'll make sure to put the Carl Sagan excerpt, and have another excerpt. When I read it, I'll put I think I said I was gonna have the trailer to Voyagers. Let me write that down before I forget. Where's my pen? So yeah, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I'm being redundant, but I'm being redundant because sometimes redundancy is good. And just remember to take care of your teams, take care of yourself mentally and physically. Lead from the front if you are in charge. Lead, and it's more than leading by example. It's more than leading by example. Lead from the front. Take charge of the issue. Don't take charge of your people. Know your people so that you can execute whatever the mission is. Take care of your household. Take care of each other, whatever that means. Take care of yourself. And until next time, I'll see you very, very soon.